The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Today is August 24th, 2011. Time is now 10:16 hours. This is Detective White, Peter White, with badge number 4932 at the Arizona Department of Public Safety Special Investigations Unit. Also present is Detective Ron Baraldi, badge number 4767 with the DPS Special Investigations Unit. We're here interviewing Linda Conley. Location of the interview is in Parker, Arizona, at the County Attorney's Office. This is a criminal interview pertaining to criminal allegations made against Chief Gilbert while Chief of the Quartzsite Police Department. Our number is 2011-027-462. Okay, if you could give me your full name.
Linda Sue Conley.
And your age?
I'm 51. 51. I'm 61. Sorry.
61?
61, yeah. Okay. I was going to give you the year I was born, and I thought, oh, that's not cool.
And just a physical description? Like your height, weight?
Oh, 5 foot, 130.
And?
Brown and brown? Orange and brown? I don't know. You want the real color of my hair? No one knows that.
Okay, and at the time of these allegations, what was your occupation?
Police assistant, evidence technician, records clerk.
And that was with the?
Quartzsite Police Department. But the formal definition was police assistant.
Okay. And the business address for the Quartzsite Police Department?
305 North Plymouth.
And you have a business telephone now?
Pardon?
Do you have a business phone now?
No.
No. Okay. What's contact number? Okay. And how long have you worked for the? How long did you work for the Quartzsite Police Department?
9 years, 8 months.
And who was your supervisor while working?
Jeff Gilbert.
Did you sign the letter of no confidence?
Yes, I did.
The letter I'm referring to is a Quartzsite Police Officers Association letter dated May 10th, 2011.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did anyone force you to sign?
Absolutely
the letter?
not.
Okay. Did you author the letter of the allegations against the Chief of Police, and that's the letter that?
This one? Yes.
Okay. Did anyone ask you to write the letter?
No.
Did anyone force you to write the letter?
No.
Did anyone tell you what to put into the letter?
No.
And why did you write the letter?
Because, can I just kind of start at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
In May, the first part of May, Jennifer Jones had, I'm not sure when she filed the report or a lawsuit against the town and Chief Gilbert. The first part of May, Chief Gilbert came to me and said that South Risk Management wanted copies of all the reports that had anything with her name in it. So when I pulled the file, there was, stacks of files like this. And with making the copies of these files, I noticed, holy smoly, these people have been ran a lot and that's when I got concerned over the amount of times that these people's names had been ran and the reasons for why they had been ran, and that is why I wrote the letter. Because I became aware that they had been ran way too many times for the charges or allegations or conduct that they had been charged with, and I felt I had been used and that it was wrong and criminal, and I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I still get upset because I feel I was used by my superior officer, who is a certified officer who has gone through a police academy, FBI academy, and he knew better. I'm sorry.
Do you specifically recall what was ran and how it was ran involving apparently Miss Harris?
Chief Gilbert asked me to run them to find out if they had valid driver's license, if they where their license was out of, what names they were under, to run them 50 states to see if they had valid driver's license, because they had different addresses, to see if they had driver's license in whatever states they had them in, where it was just a facts finding thing. And because I did so many different things for the department, I didn't ever keep track of when they would tell me to run a license plate or to run, because they would, the officers that was working in the department, or that they were doing an investigation, they would come to me and say, can you run this plate for me? Because they were working on something. So I would run the plate for them and give them the information. That kind of stuff was never logged. I never kept that. We had a form that for criminal histories that that the officer would fill out, and I kept a copy of it in a binder. But we only kept that for a year, because that's what the thing said, the record retention thing said to do. So I didn't pay attention to how many times. I stressed that any criminal histories had to be shredded when they were done with them, not to keep them in any kind of file. But I didn't keep track until I was making these copies, realizing that they had been run that many times. And it's wrong.
And you're speaking specifically to Jennifer Jones Harris, correct?
And her husband, Jack Jones.
Okay, and this was brought up when you were asked to
pull all these documents, yeah. Because most of the reports had both of their names in them. There were more, of course, with her name, but most of them, because they were married, they had, people aren't normally, just from my observation as the records person, for disorderly conduct, arrested after the fact and taken to jail. Normally they would just cite and release them, and they would go to court. But Jack Jones was arrested, taken to jail, so he could be fingerprinted, because he had never had a state photo issue ID. He had at times had showed DD2 discharge papers from the military, and he had a social security number. So back in 2006, I believe, the officers had contact with him, because he had been around for a long time. And nobody had problems with it. On this page, they had been in 2006. He had given the officers his social security number. I don't know if he showed them his discharge papers at that time for ID, but in 2006 nobody had a problem with his ID. But then when Jennifer started running for office, or supporting people who were running for office, all of a sudden those documents weren't good enough.
Now, what were some of the charges on all these reports?
Disorderly conduct. Started out barking dogs. Disorderly conduct. I can't really remember all of it. I don't know if there was I don't know, mostly disorderly conduct, and there was some saying that one of the big things, and it had all the whole lists of all the times that she'd been ran on, because the report said is on this date she was ran and she had an Oklahoma driver's license, and on this date she was ran and she produced an Arizona ID card, and on this date she had this Oklahoma driver's license, and then she'd gotten married, and then she had it in this name. I mean, it was just this whole big long list. So I mean, I can't remember. There was supposedly that she was not a citizen of Quartzsite for a year. Oh, I don't know. You'd have to get the copies of the reports because I don't remember all the charges.
So,
But they weren't criminal charges. They were all misdemeanor charges. Did I remember? You know, she was never charged with any felon. I mean, I don't know.
okay, well, my question would be, so you're saying that these are misdemeanor charges when you're identifying that these driver's license checks are done through the NCIC and the ACIC databases.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that they were done for criminal investigations, even though there weren't criminal charges, or were there no criminal charges, or was there nothing that was...
They were trying to prove that she was not a citizen, or that she had a driver's license in 2 different states. And at one point in time, it came back that just after she had gotten married, she'd changed her driver's license in Oklahoma, and then she came to Arizona and she applied for a driver's license here. And the Chief Gilbert, she's got a valid driver's license in both states, so he called Oklahoma, and they ended up canceling. Oklahoma canceled the driver's license from there. I'm not an officer. I don't know if that's a felony to have a driver's license in 2 states. I do know that lots of times, and dealing with California, people will go in and take care of something and it still shows up suspended because it takes so long for it to get from Arizona to California, which is a long ways, and from one state to another. I mean, you go in and apply for a driver's license in one state, it doesn't automatically show up on the computer reports that you don't have a valid driver's license in another state.
So would it be a fair statement then, what you're saying is based on the amount of times that you saw these individuals ran through these documents, and I'm assuming that you're indicating that you ran these individuals for the chief?
Because anything else, the log search that I requested, it would have been through dispatch. So, I mean, anytime that they were out in the field, anytime that they were doing a normal stop, they would have ran them through dispatch.
Okay. And all these times that you've ran Jennifer Jones Harrison, her husband, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack Jones, is that correct? Had you run them through the CJIS system, you're not sure if they were ran for criminal purposes or they were not ran for criminal purposes, or do you have knowledge that at times they were ran for criminal investigative purposes and other times you're not sure? Would that be a fair statement?
Well, yeah. But when, like there was one time the chief says, well, let's do a criminal history on these guys and see if they did anything while they were gone because they were snowbirds. What reason? That's not a valid law enforcement reason to run these guys to see if they did anything while they were gone for 4 months.
And do you recall who you're referring to when you speak of this incident?
I believe it was Jennifer and Jack Jones. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it was Jack Jones, but I without, I don't know.
Okay, and it was for that specific purpose of...
Let's just find out. It was just as...
While they were not in Quartzsite, and now that they've returned, let's see if they've committed any crime somewhere else. Okay. And it was specific to those 2 individuals?
Yes.
Has it ever been done, to your knowledge, involving any other residents of Quartzsite? And I haven't really thought a whole lot about him. Vito,
Austin was one that he ran a lot and investigated a lot, trying to. I remember one comment. Well, he has a residence in Oregon and he has a residence here, and he has an Oregon driver's license, and then he had a contractor's license in Oregon and one in Arizona, and I didn't think that was illegal, but I mean he Vito was another one for, and I'm not sure which years, that Vito was prior to 2010 or 2010, before they got active on Jennifer and Jack Jones and this group. It seems like he was an individual that was more targeted and more investigated. I didn't put, when I called for a log search, I didn't ask for any of their names because it was just the reports that I had pulled to, so those were the names, and I had asked for Sias and Hamilton, Chance Hamilton, because he was running at the same time, but there wasn't anything on them, and the other one was, I think, only one time or something, ran criminal history. I can't remember. I'd have to look, but it seemed that there were certain individuals that opposed the chief or oppose the council, and that they would be more targeted than. And with not having a law enforcement background, it was hard for me to, to know if it was what was a criminal investigation, and until, after a while you get to going, that's not good. And one of the things that just really, that triggered this whole thing off, on top of all this other stuff, was Sergeant Frosto asked me to run a license plate. And, and he's asked me since then to run license plates, and I ran them. And it came back to my neighbor. They are an older couple. They are snowbirds. They're only there part of the year, but this year they had their daughter live with them. And she had a big dog. And I have a big dog, and I have snowbirds that live behind me, and they're not real fond of my big dog. So these the snowbirds that lived behind me had complained about my dog barking, and I had gone home at lunchtime, and my dog is laid out there sound asleep, and their dog that's just across the street was barking. So I called Sergeant Frosto and said, "Hey, come down here, because you can be a witness. My dog's laying there asleep. It's their dog barking." So he asked me to run this license plate. I run this license plate, and it comes back to the neighbors that lived across the street, the Skeltons, not the daughter, the Skeltons. And I said, somebody complaining about their dog again, because I didn't want them to think that, because my dog barks a lot. And he goes, no, they were seen driving into Jennifer Jones's business. That's not a legitimate reason to run a license plate, because a vehicle goes into a dog grooming business. And it's like, no, you guys can't do that.
Okay. Now, if I could take you back, then
okay.
You mentioned before that the chief had asked you about running Jennifer Jones Harris's driver's license to see if she had a license in another state and also in Arizona. And you said this was during the time that she was running for, I'm assuming, a position with the city council.
I think council person.
Okay. Now, when he asked you to run this, did he indicate to you that he had a criminal investigation going, or did he indicate that he was doing this for the purpose of trying to determine if she was able to run for the council? Did he indicate to you why he was having you do that?
On the form, it has a place where they have to write a DR. That's the department report number. They would pull department report. There's, because that's why there's this big stack. They would pull a DR number, and it would be investigation. if it had a DR number there, I assumed that there was a reason that they were really. I didn't go and check and see what kind of report it was going to be.
Now, do you recall if he pulled a DR number when he asked you to run her driver's license to see if
Driver's
she had a license?
license?
No.
No.
Okay. Did he indicate?
But there is a report that Sergeant Frosto did, I believe, on, and that's where all the times listed that they had been ran. So they kept the printout. The chief has or had files on these people that just stuff in there. And he kept that in his office. I mean, that wasn't report stuff. It was just information stuff.
Okay, and do you know if that information, if those files that he kept in his office that were information, did it contain driver's license, registration checks, or criminal histories that you had ran?
No, I don't believe they did, because I stressed that they couldn't keep criminal histories. But I don't know if he's, but I know they had driver's license and yeah.
Now, are you the only one within the Quartzsite Police Department that has a TOC certification?
No, everyone has a TOC number.
So every officer and to include the chief has a TOC certification?
Yes, because when officers go through a post academy, DPS, what's her name? Johnson. She goes and teaches at the different academies, and they're given the test. They come out of most officers come out of the academies with their TOC numbers.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Now, is this something that they keep on file at the police department as far as their TOC certifications?
Yeah, and if they don't remember it, they can call, the Bernice at Access Integrity, and she'll give them their TOC number.
Okay. And do you know if they renew their TOC certifications when they're supposed to, and if that's done?
Everyone but the chief. He would not take the test.
Okay.
So when I contacted Bernice and said I cannot get him to take the test, so that he could. I was under the impression that they had to take the test and have valid certifications to be able to even view the information. And she said no, that you can put them on a compliance, a list that saying that they can get things, but they can't run things, or physically run things. You have to have a valid TOC number if they have and I don't know what the names of them are, the computers in the cars, that's where the officer is actually physically running the stuff, that you can have a TOC number that has the certification has expired on it, but that TOC number is still yours. Once they assign a TOC number, that's yours forever.
Now, were you the individual for the Quartzsite Police Department that issued the test to those officers to renew their TOC certifications?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Was.
Okay, we'll get back to some of the CEDA stuff a little bit later. Are you aware of any threats made toward any employee of the police department from the command staff?
Threats, and what do you mean?
Sort of like if some of the command staff before an investigation would go up to someone and say something to them to where they might change their mind.
The only one that if that's what that when Jackson Lewis was doing their investigation, is that what you're referring to? Maybe? Okay. Officer Yeomans came to me and said that he had spoke with Sergeant Frosto, and Sergeant Frosto had told him just to let things go, don't say anything, that everybody was going to get fired. The town would demand that all of us be fired if so it was just to, he's the chief, he can talk to you in any way. And that was what Officer Yeomans came to me just after his interview with Jackson Lewis, and said that Sergeant Frosto had told him.
Did he express to you how he felt after that?
He was very upset. He goes, it was the wrong thing to say, and he was very upset. And he had a right to be if that's what Sergeant Frosto told him.
Right, he didn't say anything about any physical violence towards him, just to say that,
I really can't remember. He said that no, not physical violence.
Okay.
I don't believe. Just that you're just threats that you're going to lose your job if you go in there and testify. That was the gist of it.
Okay, and you weren't physically present then. You
No.
didn't overhear it. This is something that he told you.
He came out of the interview, and my interview was supposed to have been right after his.
Okay.
And he came out of the interview, and that's what he told me.
And no one ever came up to you and asked you, or? Okay. How about anybody else in the department that you were?
Not that I.
Okay. Okay, so as far as the only criminal allegations you have against the chief, those are the
The NCIC?
NCIC abuse.
Well, that's, yeah.
Okay.
The other things are ethic and how he treats his employees. That's not a criminal investigation. I do feel that I've been singled out because during the first DPS investigation, I was called on the phone. They asked me questions about a grant, and they never understood what I was complaining about. I'm not sure. The mayor gave him my phone number, which was fine. I have no problem talking to him. But their gist from that first DPS investigation was that I was under the impression that, and I was told that the grant was to retain employees. Okay. Chief tells me that they are, or it was supposed to be to hire part-time help. So after the whole investigation's over, he tells me, no, it can be used to retain help also. Okay. I mean, after 8-9 years, I figured they really should budget for my position, but if they want to use grant money for it, that's fine. I didn't care. But it was so that you could catch up on your work. I was getting further behind because they let the other gal that was in the office go. So therefore, I felt him and Judge Frosto, or Terry Frosto when she's the grant person, were asking me to lie by saying, give us a percentage of how much work you're catching up on. I wasn't catching up on work. I was getting further behind. But that never came out in the other DPS investigation, that was my concern. Not that they were using it for my salary, that they were asking me to lie on these grant papers, that I didn't fill out the grant papers, either Chief Gilbert or Terry Frosto did, but they wanted me to tell them a percentage. I couldn't. I'd tell them no. I don't know. I'm not catching up on my stuff. But and then Chief Gilbert, at one of the department meetings after that other DPS investigation was over, stood up and said, I've got this. I know who talked to them, and I will have discussions with you. And he called me in his office, and I told him what my problem was. And he said, no, he says, I can't believe that you would think that I would ask you to do something illegal. I'm going, well, I felt that that's what you were doing. And the demeanor in the office after that DPS report was different. And then for me to be the first one fired because of this, and he has said, there's, it's my way. I'm the chief.
Are you aware of Chief Gilbert directing his supervisors from ordinance to conduct traffic stops and incite certain people?
Yes.
Were you ever present when he did this?
Well, present by what? My office, the front office was here. He would talk in wherever they happened to be, in the front office or in the patrol room. His office with the door open. I would overhear conversations. I was not sometimes physically present.
Okay, but you heard it firsthand. It wasn't from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did he tell you what the nature of Did you hear what the nature of these stops were, or?
One was he told Rubicava to stop Vito and run him to see if he had a valid license and his vehicle was valid, because he had been in Arizona too many months because he had an Oregon plates on his vehicle. And then the stopping Jennifer Jones and that bunch when they get ready to move off the property, pull them over because I don't think their vehicles are registered.
Okay, and how do you think he came about this information? Was that from him?
I don't know how he came up with the information, other than because I did not run any, because they had a motor home that they lived in, and it was always, most of the time surrounded around. I don't know. Maybe just observation. I don't know. Because I don't remember him having me run their vehicles. I remember him having me run driver's license and criminal histories.
Okay, are you aware of anyone in town that may have had out-of-state plates that he didn't go after, like this?
Yeah.
And what relation to the chief of those?
Well, council person Jerry Lucasen, up until just not too long ago, his wife had Colorado plate or out-of-state plates. I think it was Colorado, but I'm not 100% positive. And it was May and June, and they live here and own property, and he's had to just establish residency to be a council person, so they had out-of-state plates. And it's really, really hard, because in Quartzsite there's so many people that are snowbirds. They're here part of the year, they're there part of the year. How do you, unless they punch in and punch out, and oh my goodness, I forgot to clock out. I failed clock in over at the county attorney's office.
Did any officer ever come to you and say that the chief, maybe besides Rubicava, the chief asked me to pull these people over?
Rubicava didn't come up and tell me that.
I mean,
I overheard.
other than that story, did any officers ever come up to you and tell you the chief wanted these people stopped?
They didn't come up and tell me. I overheard conversations, but they didn't come up and tell me.
Now getting to the Did Chief Gilbert ever ask you to conduct a CJIS, NCIC, or other related criminal justice computer inquiries on anyone?
Anyone other than?
Well, just anybody.
Yes.
And I know you said yes.
Yes.
Okay. And did he ever give you the purpose of those inquiries? Did he say?
They would fill out a report, and it would have, most of the time, they had a DR number on them. If they had, you know, and there was one time that he had, it was just for an investigation. It didn't have a DR number, and that's what I wrote on there, investigation. It's, if I ran a criminal history, I put on there I would be the one logged in. I would put on there who requested it, the DR number or investigation, what they had put on their paper. So, you know, he didn't confide in me as to why he was running somebody. They would give me the paper, and I would do it.
And is that just for the criminal histories?
Only for criminal histories.
And for driver license,
They would just give me like a little post-it note or something, run this plate for me.
And would they ever tell you why?
No.
I'm going to refer to some of the crime scene log.
Okay.
The CJIS logs. And we'll start off with 2009.
Okay.
In 2009, it looked like you conducted checks on Vito Austin. It looks like 11 of them.
Okay. For driver's license, what?
Criminal histories, basically looked like through the